Kia ora, Year 12s, it's Ms Mac again. Yes, my beautiful diagram. I'm just going to shift the red line a little bit. I don't know if you can. So we're going to look at supermarket workers now. My last video was on a decrease in the supply of dentists. And now we're going to look at increase in supply, and I'm using the example of supermarket workers. So key aims from this video, you'll be able to show an increase in the supply of labour, know how to correctly label it and show it, which way to shift the curve is kind of a good one. And also you're going to be able to show the effect on unemployment and employment in the market and wages. So let's have a look at it. Supermarket workers. So here's a bit of context. COVID-19, let's say they decrease the school leaving age. Could happen. There's more people available to work, right? And so supermarket workers is a type of job where you don't need any entry requirement. You don't need to have a specific qualification or belong to a professional body. Anyone can do it, right? This is what we call an open entry job. So if, say, they decrease the school leaving age, and then you throw on the fact that there's COVID-19, essential workers, not everyone can work type thing, there's probably more social acceptance of this job. Maybe I'm just saying that more people might kind of feel like it's a worthy job to go into. So what we could see is an increase in the supply of labour from SL to SL1, okay? So again, what's your labelling? It's a shift out to the right, okay? So my hand's going out to the right here. And you need to label it accordingly, SL, and then 1 or 2 or A or something like that, but just something to indicate that you've started here and now you've increased the supply of labour, so it's shifted outwards to the right. And then an arrow to show the direction of the shift. A little bit awkward to draw the supply of labour curve because I know it becomes vertical and it's a bit weird. Yeah, you can handle it, all right? Just use a pencil, use a ruler. I didn't use a ruler because I can't use one on my laptop. Okay. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot because what I've chosen to do is show supermarket workers with a minimum wage because that's appropriate for that labour market. It's a low paid, low skilled, you don't need to have a specific skill. So the minimum wage is relevant to this market as opposed to dentists, it's not. Okay, think about it. They're getting paid $18.50, whatever is an hour. They're getting paid $100 or more an hour. So over here, we've got wages on the vertical axis, nominal, because I haven't put the P, and down here is Q for the quantity employed or unemployed. So when we increase the supply of labour, we shift it out to the right, show an arrow, new curve labelled, and then we want to show the effect on wages and the quantity employed or unemployed. With wages, there's a minimum wage. So if you were to read the new equilibrium, with the supply of labour increasing, actually wages should fall, theoretically, if we were allowing market forces to occur. Think about it as more workers available, there's less scarcity, so wages are forced down. However, there's a minimum wage, so wages aren't allowed to fall. It's a legal wage. You still have to pay them that regardless of how many people is available to work. So what we show then, this is where it gets a little bit full on, and hopefully I drew it right, is the quantity demanded of labour stays the same. There's been no change in the demand for labour in this scenario. So where that minimum wage intersects the demand curve is the quantity demanded of labour. So firms still demand this amount of workers. So as a hint, the level of employment in this market isn't going to change. All right, we're still going to be hiring from 0 to QDL. These are the people that actually will end up with a job. We call that E. All right. Then what we're looking at is this idea of voluntary and involuntary unemployment. So there's a lot going on here. Let's read it carefully. So let's start with the voluntary people. I called it M, I think that is. I'm trying to read there. Okay, VU, and that might be V. Okay, it's a VU. So before the increase in the supply of labour, we're reading off this curve here. Here is the quantity supplied of labour at the minimum wage, right? And then this is the full level of employment or the full amount of workers that are available to work. So the distance between those two is what we call voluntary unemployment, labelled down here. Okay, I'm just trying to position so the sun's not glaring. However, when the supply of labour increases to out here, this is your new quantity supplied of labour, okay, in blue. And this is actually the new level of full level of employment in the supermarket workers. This is the total amount of workers available, right? So voluntary unemployment is actually decreased from just according to the way I've drawn it, from here to here. I'm kind of questioning myself if I've drawn it correctly. However, when you think about that, there's more people available to work, and more of them are choosing to offer their labour at this higher wage. Okay. But what we're looking at here is what happens to involuntary unemployment. So let's start with the position before. This is with the minimum wage, just this supply of labour here, like starting point, okay, and it's IU, QDL minus QSL. That's how many people are involuntary unemployed. When the supply of labour increases out here, okay, we again read off where the minimum wage intersects the new supply curve. That's the new quantity supplied of labour. So actually involuntary unemployment increases from QDL minus QSL in black to QDL minus QSL in blue over here. Okay, so the IU to IU dash. So it's actually increased. And if you think about it, it makes sense. The minimum wage is the same, it's still higher than the market rate. And now there's more people offering to work at that wage, but unfortunately the demand for labour at that wage rate hasn't changed. So there's still only going to be this amount employed. There's just going to be more people offering to work at that wage, yet there's no demand for their labour. Okay, and that's what an increase in the supply of labour would do in a market that has a minimum wage. It wouldn't change employment. There'd still be the same amount of people employed. Voluntary unemployment, just the way I've drawn it, looks like it would decrease from here to just here, like just a little bit. And in terms of involuntary unemployment, it's going to increase from here, QSL minus QDL, to new QSL dash 2, I think I've written, to minus QDL. There's a greater surplus of labour, so there's more people involuntary unemployed. Okay, so I hope you haven't, well, I don't know what to say, enjoyed, but I hope that's been helpful for you. The next couple of videos will look at the demand for labour. Ka kite.